My name is Madison Clark, and tonight, the entire city will be watching me. I stand at the top floor of the Hilton Grand, gazing out over Manhattan. The skyline glitters like 1,000 candles, and for the first time in my life, all those lights feel like they belong to me. My silk blouse clings softly to my shoulders, pressed crisp for the cameras that will arrive in less than an hour. My phone buzzes on the marble counter, messages flooding in from reporters, caterers, security teams, sponsors. Madison, we're ready. Madison, where do you want the stage lights angled? Madison, the mayor just confirmed attendance. Every text reminds me that I'm not just attending this event. I'm hosting it. The city's biggest charity gala, mine. My name on every banner, my vision behind every detail, my story waiting quietly between every spotlight. And then I see it, a name lighting up my phone. Mom. For a second, my throat tightens. I don't answer. My manicured nail hovers over the screen, trembling, before I swipe it away. Because 3 years ago, on the night of my 21st birthday, she didn't call. Neither did Dad. They forgot. Or maybe they just didn't care. Now they suddenly do. And tonight, they'll see exactly what forgetting me cost them. I can still remember the smell of that night, rain-soaked concrete, and the faint sweetness of a bakery down the street that had just closed. My 21st birthday. The birthday everyone tells you is supposed to be unforgettable. But mine was unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. I sat cross-legged on the edge of my bed, my favorite navy dress laid out beside me, waiting for the sound of footsteps down the hall, waiting for someone to knock and say, "Surprise, Maddie." Or, at least, "Happy birthday." But the house was silent. The clock ticked. My phone stayed dark. My parents were downstairs. I could hear the clink of dishes, the low hum of the TV. But no one called my name. No one lit a candle for me. I told myself maybe they were planning something late. Maybe they were waiting until I came down. I held on to that hope until almost midnight. When I finally walked into the kitchen, Mom was folding laundry at the table, Dad scrolling on his iPad. "Hey, sweetie," Mom said casually, like it was any other Tuesday. I waited. Nothing. Not a card, not a cake, not even a look of recognition. I swallowed hard. My hands trembled against the counter as I whispered, "You know what day it is, right?" Dad didn't even glance up. "We've been busy, Madison. You're an adult now. Birthdays aren't such a big deal." It felt like someone had yanked the floor out from under me. 21 years of being their daughter, and they couldn't spare one sentence. Not even 4 words, "Happy birthday, Madison." That was the night something inside me snapped. I realized I could spend my whole life waiting for them to see me, or I could stop waiting. I remember retreating to my room, grabbing the leather notebook my grandmother had given me before she passed. On the first page, she'd written in her loopy cursive, "Don't wait for the world to notice you. Create something so bright they can't look away." I pressed my palm against those words, tears streaking down my cheeks, and I knew, if my own parents couldn't see me, then one day, the whole world would. And that night, I made my first plan. My first step away from being invisible. The morning after my 21st birthday, I packed my bags. Not in a dramatic running away sort of way, but in quiet defiance. A few clothes, my grandmother's notebook, and the last $200 I had saved from part-time shifts at a bookstore. I told my parents I was moving closer to campus for internships, but the truth was, I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. I needed distance, space to become someone other than the girl they overlooked. At first, survival was all I could think about. I rented a shoebox-sized apartment with peeling paint and a window that rattled when trucks drove by. My mattress was secondhand, my dinners were instant noodles, and my Wi-Fi worked only if I stood on one leg by the window. But it was mine. My space. My starting line. Event planning wasn't something I stumbled into. It was something I chased. I loved the idea of turning a blank room into a story, of creating nights people would remember forever. Maybe because I knew what it felt like to have a night you'd never forget, for the wrong reason. My first shot came from Evelyn Ramirez, the director of a small nonprofit who saw me stapling flyers on campus one evening. She asked if I'd help organize their charity bake sale. I threw myself into it. Color-coded schedules, handwritten thank you notes, decorations made out of dollar store supplies. It wasn't much, but when the night ended with record donations, Evelyn clasped my hands and said, "You've got something, Maddie. Don't waste it." That one sentence kept me going. The next few years were brutal and beautiful. Long nights hunched over my laptop, designing seating charts until my eyes burned. Waking up before dawn to haul boxes of decorations across the city. Crying in bathroom stalls after clients dismissed me as too young or too green. But every rejection hardened me. Every tiny success fed me. My first paid gig, a small engagement party, earned me just enough to cover rent. My first real corporate client gave me the confidence to print business cards with Clark Events in elegant silver script. I kept my parents in the dark. Whenever Mom asked how school was, I'd just say busy. Whenever Dad wondered if I was getting by, I'd answer with a vague, "Yeah, things are fine." I never told them about the contracts I signed, the nights I worked until sunrise, or the growing list of clients who whispered my name with respect. By 24, I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. My calendar was booked months in advance. My team had grown to 5 full-time staff, and my name was beginning to circulate in the city's social scene. But the biggest moment came when I got the call. "Madison Clark? We'd like you to host the annual Metropolitan Gala, the biggest charity event of the year. The kind of night where the whole city turns its eyes toward one ballroom." And for the first time, I knew I was ready. The ballroom shimmered like a dream. Crystal chandeliers cast golden halos across polished marble floors. Every table gleamed with silver cutlery and towering white orchids. Waiters glided between guests in tailored black uniforms, carrying trays of champagne that sparkled under the lights. And everywhere, people whispered my name. "Madison Clark. She's the one behind this." I stood near the stage in a midnight blue gown that hugged my frame just right, my hair swept into soft curls. My team buzzed around me with final updates, lighting cues, seating confirmations, press instructions. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw them. My parents. Mom in her pearls and navy dress, Dad in a suit he probably hadn't worn in years. They looked out of place, almost small in the sea of city officials, CEOs, and socialites. I could tell they weren't sure where to stand, their eyes darting from the chandeliers to the banners where, in bold letters, my name glittered. Hosted by Madison Clark. For a moment, my breath caught in my throat. Part of me wanted to run to them, to hear them finally say, "We're proud of you." But the other part, the stronger part, reminded me of that silent birthday. The girl who had waited all night for love that never came. I let them see me before I walked over. I wanted them to take it all in. The cameras flashing, the city's most powerful faces greeting me with warm smiles, the way people paused conversations when I passed. "Madison?" Mom's voice trembled when I reached them. This is all yours?" I smiled softly, keeping my tone measured.
"Yes."
"Welcome to my event." Dad blinked, clearly stunned. You're running this?" "I'm not just running it," I said, motioning toward the stage. "I built it. Every partnership, every contract, every detail. This entire night exists because I made it happen." Silence hung heavy between us. I watched their expressions shift, disbelief giving way to shame, shame twisting into awe. The mayor himself approached then, clapping me on the shoulder. "Madison, everything looks flawless. Truly, the city owes you for this." He glanced politely at my parents before moving on. I caught the flicker in Dad's eyes, a flash of something I'd never seen before. Pride, maybe. Or regret. Mom touched my arm lightly. "Honey, we had no idea." I pulled back just slightly. "Of course you didn't. I never told you." Her brows knit together. "Why?" "Because," I said, my voice steady now, "when I needed you most, you didn't see me. You didn't even remember my 21st birthday. That night, I decided I'd never wait for your recognition again. I decided the world would know my name, even if you didn't." Their faces fell, the weight of my words pressing down harder than the chandeliers above us. And now, I added, straightening, you can't ignore me. No one can. The MC's voice boomed across the hall, announcing me to the stage. Applause erupted as I climbed the steps, my gown flowing behind me. I glanced once at my parents, standing in stunned silence, surrounded by people who now knew exactly whose daughter they were. I stood at the podium, my heart pounding, my grandmother's words echoing in my mind. Create something so bright they can't look away. And tonight they couldn't. The applause faded into music, and soon the ballroom filled with laughter, conversation, and the clinking of glasses. I stepped off stage, my smile poised for cameras, my mind sharp and steady. My parents lingered near the back, almost swallowed by the crowd, but I could feel their eyes on me like shadows I couldn't shake. Eventually, I approached them. Not because they asked, but because I wanted the air cleared. Mom's voice cracked first. Madison, this is incredible. We should have been there for you. I don't know how we missed it. I looked at her, at the pearls around her neck, at the way her hands fidgeted like she wanted to reach for mine but wasn't sure if she had the right. Dad cleared his throat. We made mistakes. Maybe we didn't realize how much you needed us back then. But seeing you here, doing this, his voice faltered. We're proud. A younger me would have melted at those words. But the woman standing here now knew better. I appreciate that, I said slowly. But being proud of me now isn't enough. If you want to be in my life, really in it, things have to change. Their brows furrowed. Change? Yes, I said firmly. No more dismissing me. No more silence when I need your voice. Respect my work, respect my choices, and stop pretending birthdays, milestones, or my feelings are optional. Mom's eyes glistened. We can do that. We can try. But I wasn't finished. And more than that, I need honesty. If you're going to show up now, it has to be real, not because you want to share in the spotlight, not because people suddenly recognize my name. I want parents who see me when no one else is looking. They exchanged a glance, both of them visibly shaken. Dad finally said, "What do you want from us?" I exhaled slowly, choosing my words like the contracts I'd negotiated over the years. Here are my conditions. You call on my birthday. Every year. You check in not just when I succeed, but when I stumble. You drop the habit of comparing me to others or brushing off my emotions. And if you can't do that, I paused, steadying my voice. Then you don't get to stand beside me when the cameras flash. You don't get to claim me only at my brightest. The silence that followed wasn't cruel. It was cleansing. The truth laid bare. Mom nodded slowly, her voice trembling. We'll do better, Maddie. We want to try. Not for the cameras. For you. For the first time, I let myself believe she might mean it. Good. I said softly but firmly. Because I don't need you to make me visible anymore. I already did that myself. What I need now is parents who care about the girl behind the spotlight, not just the woman in it. They said nothing more, but their silence carried weight, the beginning of accountability. And for the first time, I felt the power resting entirely in my hands. Later that night, after the last guest had left and the music had quieted to a hum in the corners of the ballroom, I stood alone beneath the chandeliers. My heels clicked softly against the marble as I walked the length of the room, trailing my fingertips over the orchids that had survived the evening untouched. My parents had left earlier, promising to call me tomorrow, promising to try. I didn't know if they would keep that promise. But for the first time, it didn't terrify me, because my worth no longer hung in their hands. I thought about that girl from 3 years ago, sitting alone in her bedroom on her 21st birthday, clutching a leather notebook, tears sliding down her cheeks. She had felt invisible, forgotten, unworthy of celebration. And now, here I was, hosting the city's most prestigious gala, my name glowing on banners, my work praised by leaders, my vision carried out by a team who believed in me. I pulled the notebook from my clutch. The edges were frayed now, the pages smudged with ink and time. I flipped to the very first page, where my grandmother's words waited for me like a heartbeat. Don't wait for the world to notice you. Create something so bright they can't look away. Tears welled in my eyes, But this time they weren't born of loneliness. They were gratitude, strength, victory. Because she had been right. I had created something bright. Bright enough for the entire city to see. Bright enough to light up even the blind spots in my parents' hearts. I closed the notebook gently, holding it to my chest. My reflection shimmered faintly in the glass doors of the ballroom. And for once, I liked what I saw. I wasn't the forgotten girl anymore. I was Madison Clark, and I had written my own story one spotlight at a time. And if my parents chose to walk beside me now, they'd walk on my terms. As the staff dimmed the chandeliers, I whispered my final vow to the quiet room, a vow to myself, to the girl I used to be, and to the woman I had become. I will never wait to be celebrated again. I am my own celebration.